No! No! No, 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 don't let me do it to him. No, not 2 times in a row. Alright, you know this is bad when I play controller and I'm like praying for my opponents to succeed. Like, that's how you know. Hey friends, today's video is on the Heliocentric QSc Sidearm, which I think has the potential to be a meta contender and rise up the Trials of Osiris most used weapons. It is that good. It sports a .67 time to kill, which I probably have your attention with that considering no survivors. Immortal has a .67 with target lock. This weapon was available last season, but really difficult to get because it was tied to the world loot pool, and you would see 2 or 3 drops a season, and I almost guarantee all 3 of those drops were terrible. I borderline saw 2 or 3 of these out in the wild last season, and that all changes this season, season 23, because they tied this drop to lost sectors. If you do a legend lost sector on the correct day, 70% chance to drop, and if you do a master lost sector on the correct day, look at the calendar on screen, you get an additional perk on the column, and it can be in either column. So I could have, for example, like on this one, kill clip and precision instrument, or I could have perhaps moving target and heal clip, something like that. And I do have one of those in my dim, as a matter of fact. I keep this one for PvE, where I have heal clip, kill clip, and incandescent, which I think, especially in a season where we have piercing sidearms as an artifact, that extra choice is really compelling and worth doing master lost sectors, some of which I have made videos on for very generic strats as well as aggressive clears, and I'll probably get into speedrunning in the later half of the season when I have everything unlocked. I'd bet the most common question y'all are probably asking right now is why would I use the Heliocentric over Drang when I can just craft Drang? And my answer is, Thorn is now in the meta, which means you have to have 6 resilience to survive the 2-head 1 body, which means you have to drop your mobility. Since this is a lightweight sidearm, you can put what would have went into mobility into recovery or something else like that so that you can have better stat splits. As well as, I arguably think the gun is easier to use, as well as, with the correct build, you can also have a time to kill edge over Drang and utilize kill perks a little bit easier and or better than Drang. So if we look at the available perks on Heliocentric, your eyes might immediately go to precision instrument as mine did, because I've never really seen this on a sidearm before, and I don't know when it changes. Well, the answer is it does not allow you to 4-tap 10 resilience. I forget the exact threshold, but it doesn't come up that much unless you stack an armor surge, but that requires a kill. And if that requires a kill more often than not, then I probably want to run kill clip. But there is an exception because Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves did get a rework where they're plus 10% damage. So that's basically the same as Radiant, so I'll put that in there so you can see what it can do to the time to kill. So now Precision Instrument, you don't even need it, 0.5. Then as we start stacking this up, you can see you have 1 less headshot, which means you're very likely going to achieve this initial time to kill. Maybe better than Drang. As we can see over here, this is how I would spec it out. Maybe go arrowhead for 100 recoil direction, but it doesn't really matter. One thing to mention on Season 22 weapons is the recoil direction does not have to be at 100 anymore because they all have a deterministic recoil pattern. 100 does make it better. I would almost argue that it might make this weapon worse. Sorry, I'm going on multiple tangents here, but I'll tie it all together. When you aim down sights on this weapon, the red dot gets hidden under the suppressor, so you can't see what you're aiming at. So maybe 100 recoil direction isn't worth it. I'm coping, of course, because I didn't roll it, but maybe it's just not worth it. That is some food for thought for sure. So now we compare Radiant to Drang. Goes to a clean 0.6, 3 and 1. 0.5 faster than 0.6. It doesn't change the initial time to kill on Drang. So if you run Mechaneers or Radiant with a lightweight, you are beating Drang. And if you run Precision Instrument, you're beating Drang and also matching its forgiveness ratio. And if you go Kill Clip, it's a 2-head 2-body, or on very low resilience, 1-head 3-body. And as you start adding the Surge in there, that resilience threshold goes up too. So this is a very, very strong sidearm to build into. Out of curiosity, let's see what Surrounded does. A 0.33 with the Mechaneers buff or Radiant. 0.5 without. So you have a lot of options with this sidearm. See Frenzy. Frenzy is a raw 0.67 on tier 10, which is its base. So you would need Mechaneers trick sleeves to make this decent. Yeah, anyway, you see what I mean. It's just a variety of different damage perks to get into a more competitive time to kill that can surpass Drang. Yes, Drang is better out of the gate, but if you build into Mechaneers, Radiant, or just don't care because a 0.07 difference you're probably trading with the player anyway, I give the edge to Heliocentric. I genuinely feel it is easier to use. Part of that might be moving target, but I would argue rangefinder could be very good here too. Drang almost has a built-in rangefinder with 13 zoom, but I really don't feel like it's hard to aim this thing. Anyway, I could keep going back and forth with Heliocentric and Drang, and there's probably a specific purpose for either. Let me know in the comment section which you prefer if you've had the luxury to try a good roll of both. That being said, what does this sidearm do for me? Well, I have picked up controller recently again. I play a very low sensitivity, mostly to control sidearms like this from the hip at close quarters distance, which helps me potentially break an ankle with my strafe, which means that I'm not getting as aim assisted by my opponent since my strafe is really fast. Moving target helps with this. So it's a match made in heaven. Heel clip would make more sense for going for the 7th column and whatnot, but for a daily driver role, I think moving target and precision instrument makes the most sense. So where does this fit in my loadout? The answer is it fits in because of Gunpowder Gamble. Or I might even run this on Peregrine Greaves with the sniper, so I can have an alternate Peacekeeper setup on my Titan. Something that would replace my Peacekeeper setup, assuming SMGs and something like that get nerfed in the future, and I have to pivot to something else, I'll just main controller. So that's really what this sidearm's waiting for. Until then, it's a fun gunpowder setup. These are the other weapons I use in my gunpowder setup. I think Abyss Defiant is the absolute best because it has Swashbuckler to pair with all the knife synergies. Get a nice little 4-tap going with an auto rifle. No flinch, Curse Thrall for explosions, probably the most fun, which is why I took the extra time to go for an adept version. Cornock is an experimental weapon. I'm truthfully looking for a role with Cascade Point. I forgot the name there for a second. But the idea is you pre-proc Suro Synergy and use Zen Moment to get a anti-flinch advantage over any other gun. The problem with this gun is it has low base stats, so even though it does have great anti-flinch bonuses, the net gain isn't as big as you think, although it is a satisfying auto to use. Cascade Point just means that if I pick up a shotgun kill and switch to my auto, it rips people with like a 0.5 TTK and is super satisfying. The next gun is the BXR Battler with blunt execution rounds. So again, I can use my knife synergies up close to not one burst somebody, but get a really easy 2-burst. Next is Strident Whistle, which has Adrenaline Junkie for 1-taps and Surplus for quick swaps, as well as Shoot to Loot for shenanigans, reloading across the map and snaking ammo. Anyway, this is what I swap on when Lemon Arc and Wish Ender players annoy me, and then I want to put them in the 7th column montage, something like that. This is my daily driver Igneous. I have 0 kills on it right now because I recently got it. I haven't used hand cannon since I've been on a new mouse sensitivity. because I really want to work on my tracking aim. Still, after all this time, I suck at aiming. Maybe one day I'll get better and can use easy weapons like Igneous Hammer. But it does have the option of both precision and golden tricorn, which means that I can potentially tube tap people if I become an archaeologist, turn to the dark side, and start using the seasonal artifact that arguably ruins PvP variety each season. Drang, I just put there for sake of the video. The final one is No Survivors. This is arguably a perfect role, but I really wanted Offhand Strike just for fun reasons. But Discord kind of plays into the theme that this gun's going for with Restoration Ritual, where I can have a Peacekeeper-like effect of reloading without using Peacekeepers. I would argue that this gun model is one of my favorite in the entire game as far as landing my shots on my opponent. The only thing this gun is missing from being a perfect never leave my inventory type of gun is an unflinching perk. All that being said, if I run this with Cert Arachnid, it is always a good time. But for gunpowder gamble reasons, if I'm on mouse and keyboard and want a close quarter setup, you may think it's a little counterintuitive to run a shotgun and an SMG or a sidearm at the same time, but Gemini Jester really lets me navigate that close quarter space to walk out with some kill perks and maybe a gunpowder gamble. It's super fun. By the way, the reason you always use conditional finality in these gunpowder builds is because... Wait, does the gun have sounds? That just threw me off here. The gun does have sounds. The reason you use conditional finality is because any kill with it procs gunpowder gamble. So it helps me work towards that perk. Which is why, again, guns like Heliocentric find a permanent home for this loadout. I find this loadout to be so much fun. Alright friends, enjoy the gameplay. I'll see you in the next one. No, not the protagonist, just like a character in it. Nice little shotgun dodge. Oh my god, I did it to him again. I did it to him again! I did it to him again! I'm stuck. Step bro. I heard the bow. This thing is broken, man. It's just not fair. Right, they definitely want that flag. It had to come to an... Would it be like, you would not believe that I found success with it on Eternity? The slow spin. Look, I play 5 cents, okay? The problem is it's effective for me. I know I'm gonna get roasted. I expect to get roasted. It's because I can control recoil at these ridiculous distances from the hip.